I don't think anyone expected this, but today Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 have been added to the backwards compatibility catalogue for the Xbox One. So many titles are being added to that list nowadays, and Call of Duty Black Ops, another one of my favourite shooters purely for the zombies mode in that game, was added in the not too distant past. But today is the day of old school Battlefield games making their way onto the scene. Now, Battlefield Bad Company 2 launched in March 2010. That's nearly 7 years ago now, such a long time ago, on the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the PC, and it's actually one of the earlier games to use the Frostbite engine, which is now what powers every single Battlefield game and most of EA's other titles. Now, in my opinion, it still stands today, this game, Bad Company 2, as my favourite Battlefield game that's ever been made, and it features a really good campaign story as well. It was never a mainline release, it was a spin-off just like Battlefield Hardline, but it did incorporate a lot of the standard Battlefield features, but it took the game in a more linear infantry direction. It also played host to perhaps the best DLC ever released for a Battlefield game, the Vietnam expansion. 4 maps set during the Vietnam War, limited era-specific weapons, and all new character models. It was a really, really good DLC. After Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 released around 18 months later in October 2011, and it moved the franchise back to the main numbered series. It was the biggest release ever at the time, and it featured an updated version of that Frostbite engine. Lots of new players jumped on board with the franchise, and that game really set the tone for the future of the Battlefield franchise. If you look at Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 right now, you can see a lot of influence from Battlefield 3 there. So both of these games are now available for people playing on the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. Now, according to the information that's been released, as long as you're using the same gamertag login on your Xbox One as you did on your Xbox 360, so basically if you're using the same account, then you should be able to pick up all of your stats for both games in the multiplayer where you left off all of that time ago. And if you've got any DLC for these games on those accounts as well, that should be picked up and you should be able to access that DLC on your Xbox One. Now, as I mentioned, unfortunately, that's only for the multiplayer. If you want to play the single player, you're going to have to start again because none of the saves will have moved over from your Xbox 360. But, to be fair, I'd highly recommend playing through the Bad Company 2 campaign again anyway. It's got some great characters in there, some great dialogue, and it pits you in that standard 2010 Russian versus US take over the world scenario. Always good fun to play in a single player. Even if you don't own Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 on your Xbox 360 and you now have an Xbox One, you could just go out and buy a pre-owned version of the game, put the disc in your Xbox One, and then you can play either Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 this weekend if you want to. It might cost you a few quid, and I don't know what the multiplayer servers look like for these games, but for a few quid, it might be a nice throwback for a weekend of gaming. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you're going to try out any of these older Battlefield games on your Xbox One. Luckily, the PC version still has good server population for both of these games, but it's nice to see another platform getting a chance to play them again. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.